Hey guys, it's Jill. Jen and I wanted to give you a heads up about the content on today's episode. It may be triggering for more sensitive audiences. Refer to the show notes for more specifics. And take care while you listen.
On this episode of Common Mystics, breadcrumbs lead us to uncover a chilling and sinister tale of a ruthless and cunning serial killer who lured unsuspecting men into marriage and orchestrated their deaths to serve her greed. I'm Jennifer James.
I'm Jill Stanley.
We're psychics.
We're sisters.
We are Common Mystics. We find extraordinary stories in ordinary places. And today's story comes to you from Porte, Indiana.
That's right. And Jen.
Yes, Jill.
You guys, everyone knows what we do. They know what we do. We drive around. We ask the spirits to guide us to a story, verifiable, previously unknown to us, that gives voice to the voiceless. But sometimes when we do the research, because the research is intuitive, we find another story. And this is one of those stories. And we call it More Voices from the Road.
You got it, Jill. Thank you so much for that explanation.
Oh, you're welcome. This story comes to us from the year 2023.
Jill, remind us where we were.
We picked up Jenny B because she's the cutest Jenny on earth.
Best friend ever.
She's the best person ever.
True.
Okay. So we were going to celebrate with Jenny, and we were going to the Zachary downtown, which is like a bougie hotel in Wrigleyville across from the stadium. So Go Cubs. Yes. We pick up Jenny, and then we're doing like our little mini sesh on the road with Jen. We're like, okay, let's do this. Let's have fun. And we were in Oak Park, Illinois, and we were driving through the west side of the city, which is kind of scary, not always. We set our intention. And we got some hits.
We did.
We got some hits that led you to this story. First of all, I want to say the information in these pages is disturbing. So just know that. Okay. Go over some of our hits.
The most important ones that came through were Austin Avenue, that connection. You'll remember that from our last story, right, Jill? Mm-hmm. Story, episode 121, about Stephen Linscott and his vision of murder. Remember that?
Of Karen Ann Phillips, her unsolved murder.
Exactly.
My goodness.
And so, of course, yes, Jill.
Jennifer.
Yes, Jill.
I'm looking at some of the hits, and you didn't put all of them down.
I did not put them all down.
Okay, well, I'll just tell you.
Okay.
If you are from Chicago and you're looking for creepy shit, this man's name always comes up. Do you know which man I'm talking about?
I think so.
Yes. His name is
H.H. Holmes.
Yes. And we were talking about H.H. Holmes in the car and about the house. It's just very scary. And we'll tell you why, but it's like a freaky Chicagoland lore. So he was on our minds because that's what we do. We like feeling the feels, right?
Right.
But again, where his place was located in the city isn't there anymore, and it's kind of in the shabby area outside of where we were going.
So let's kind of talk about what you mean by he's creepy, he had a place, because I bet a lot of people who aren't familiar with Chicago history might not know the story of H.H. Holmes.
You know, I was thinking that in the car. I was literally thinking on my way to this recording, I'm like, is H.H. Holmes like on the tongues of all Americans or around the world? Because
I wonder.
He was pretty significant in Chicago lore.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want me to kind of go over a little bit about him?
Well, first, some of the other hits, did you say Austin Avenue? We were discussing murder. Did you go over Austin Avenue, as you know? Okay. Let's talk about H.H. Holmes because he was on our minds.
Yes.
And not in a good way.
No.
Who was he? Give us some background on this man and why we would be like, oh, we should freak ourselves out by feeling the feels over in that area, but decided not to.
H.H. Holmes is often referred to as one of America's first known serial killers. That's important. don't you think? Like, that's notable. Like, he's one of the oldest known documented serial killers.
I hear you. I feel like it's debatable because we've covered like Samuel Mason, you know what I mean? But
true. Let's keep going.
But let's keep. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not here to yuck up your yum, Jennifer.
Perfect. That's what I like to hear. His name, he was born Herman Webster Mudgett in 1861. I can see why he changed it to Holmes.
I am not sad that he changed his name to Holmes. That checks out. But Mudgett is a funny name.
It would be a cute dog's name.
Do you think so? I don't think
so. I do. Maybe a cat or dog. Anyway, he is most famous for his connection to the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago. Huge exposition in Chicago on its south side.
Big deal.
Mm-hmm. It was called the White City.
I was just going to say that, get out of my head. And it was one of the first expeditions to have power and electricity. That was brought to you by Nikola Tesla.
Oh, and you meant to say exposition. But
what did I say?
Expedition. Different, close, sounds similar,
it was
not
so
the
close.
Same, but
I swung
and you missed.
But I missed it.
I think I'm right here when I say that the Ferris wheel was debuted at the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago, as well as the ice cream cone.
Now,
two big firsts.
You have me. Now you have me.
I believe that's true. Okay, let's keep going. So during... Go ahead.
Mudgett.
Yes, Mr. Mudgett.
Decided to change his name to Holmes.
Yes. He built a building that he designed himself. It was a huge stone structure filled with hidden passages and soundproof rooms, trap doors, and all kinds of creepy shit, which he used to lure and kill victims during the World's Fair. And at the time, there were a lot of people traveling to Chicago for this huge event, many of them young women whose families never heard from them again. So, yeah. Thoughts?
Well, so I think he's creepy. I think he sounds like Buffalo Bill. I remember reading The Devil in the White City, which is about H.H. Holmes. I forgot who the author was, but I remember that he had to keep hiring different crews to do different things on the house because he couldn't say, give me a trap door and then give me a room that is like soundproof. You know what I mean? Like he would have to keep changing the licensed contractors. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading that too. The name of the book is The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. It's fantastic.
So good.
So good. It is nonfiction, but reads like a novel. Anyway, his famous...
Because this shit is unreal.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really unreal.
This building... later known as the Murder Castle of H.H. Holmes, was located in the Englewood neighborhood on Chicago's south side at the corner of 63rd and Wallace. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, that original building no longer exists. And after H.H. Holmes's horrifying crimes came to light, the structure was partially destroyed in a fire, allegedly set by arsonists in 1895. Eventually, the remnants were torn down, and now there is a post office that occupies the site.
Yeah. Creepy.
Yes.
I friggin' creepy. Mm-hmm. I feel like there shouldn't be a post office or any building on that site. It should have been like a memorial park.
I think so, too.
It's really disturbing. Like, I get burning it down. Like, I'm not a fan of arson, like, trust. Like, I'm not trying to burn shit down. But if someone did, like, let's use the land in memory of the people that he killed. Speaking of, how many? What numbers are we talking here?
Well, Jill, the exact number of people killed by H.H. Holmes remains a mystery. And it's this ambiguity that makes his story so infamous, because people are enthralled, kind of like curious about, like, well, how many people actually did he murder? I will tell you this. He did confess, and he claimed to have killed 27 people. But some of the people that he said he killed were found alive later. So it's like, really, H.H. Holmes?
You know, he, to me, had little man syndrome, if that makes sense. Like, he was a good-looking guy.
He was a good-looking guy. He was also charming.
He was good looking. He was charming. He was smart. I believe that he went to Michigan University at some point. Yes. But the thing about him was that it was kind of like he had that narcissistic duality of, like, I'm really good at something, but I'm also really ashamed of myself, and daddy didn't love me kind of feeling. Like, I could have been a doctor.
Really?
Like, that's like, really.
I didn't know that.
That's how his energy came across to me.
I see.
But because he was so, like, good looking for the time, it was easy for women to just, like, be at ease. It's that whole Ted Bundy thing. Like, oh, you're hot with a broken arm? Sure, it can help. You're like, run.
Right. Well, 9 people were confirmed to have been murdered by him. Even though he claimed 27, 9 were confirmed. And again, this lack of clear evidence combined with Holmes's penchant for lying and exaggerating his deeds means
I ain't wrong.
Means that the true scale of his crimes will really never be known. Like, we'll never know.
I know the 9 are confirmed. Like, we know 9 just from the series of events that got him arrested. But do you think 27? That's a lot of It's a lot of people. But the way he created that house was a machine to kill.
Yes.
So I can see 27 indirectly being an easier number, knowing that it wasn't like he was strangling them. He was, like, pressing the trapdoor.
Right. I think it's feasible.
Okay, so why was he killing these people?
Well, one of his motivations was collecting insurance money.
Tale as old as time.
In fact, aside from murder, one of H.H. Holmes's most notable criminal activities was his expertise in committing insurance fraud. He was really good at it. He would use fake identities and forged documents to take out life insurance policies on people, often without their knowledge. And then he would stage accidents or orchestrate their deaths to collect the payouts, promising them a share in the profits. So oftentimes it was like him and quote unquote partners agreeing to this insurance fraud scheme, only they didn't realize how brutal he was, because he would then kill them instead of sharing the money with them. And so through the years, Holmes swindled insurance companies out of thousands of dollars, which was an astronomical amount in his time.
You know, I look back at these good old days and think how easy it was to do the crimes, you know?
Yeah, without DNA, without like
cameras in your face and your phones everywhere.
Eventually, he was caught because of an investigation into one of his insurance fraud plans.
He went too big.
Mm-hmm. After the suspicious death of Benjamin Peitzel, one of Holmes' former accomplices, Holmes attempted to collect on Peitzel's life insurance, and detectives followed his trail of lies that culminated in Holmes' arrest in Boston in 1894.
Okay. So he's arrested. Now he's in custody.
Mm-hmm.
And is he like, what's his demeanor? Is he like, I'm the biggest, baddest killer ever? Or he's like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you mean. Like, what's happening?
The details of the murder castle emerged during the investigation. Okay.
Oh, so he was flexing. He was.
And the entire nation was shocked. Ultimately, Holmes was convicted of the murder of Benjamin Peitzel, though he confessed to numerous other killings, as I stated. some of which remain unverified, and he was sentenced to death and hanged in 1896.
How do you feel about that?
I'm okay with that.
I wonder where he was hanged. It would have to be Cook County, no?
I don't know. That's something we can look into later.
Maybe on detours? See if we can find, if not the murder castle. Do you know what else is ambiguous? The HH. It's nothing.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm not sure what it stands for. But the funny thing was, as we were looking into the Vision of Murder episode 121 and Stephen Linscott and the murder victim
Karen Ann Phillips.
Thank you,
who is
Karen Ann Phillips.
Still unsolved, Jennifer. The unsolved murder of Karen Ann Phillips because the fuckery of the Oak Park Police Department. Karen Ann Phillips. Say her name.
Karen Ann Phillips.
Karen Ann Phillips.
Jill, as I was digging into Karen Ann Phillips and Stephen Linscott and that whole situation, H.H. Holmes kept coming up in my searches.
See, the thing is that like I said, if you're in the Chicagoland area and you're looking for murder, what do you get? You get H.H. Holmes, John Wayne Gacy.
Exactly.
Like there are
well-known.
It doesn't matter.
Right,
yes.
Right. But so we knew it wasn't H.H. Holmes. That you and I just had a feeling. We're not talking about H.H. Holmes. It is a breadcrumb. And I think I found another serial killer, less known, but perhaps even more deadly and insidious than our friend H.H. Holmes, a.k.a. Mudgett.
He ain't my friend.
Okay.
He ain't my friend. Nope. I rebuke him. Tell me, what did you find?
Okay. Are you ready? I am really psyched about
let me
this.
sit.
Okay. You ready now?
Okay. I'm ready now.
Okay. It all came to light with a tragic fire that brought everything into the stratosphere in 1908 in the town of LaPorte, Indiana, about 68 miles from the modern city limits of Chicago.
Okay. What are you talking about? What came to light? Tell me.
There was a farmhouse belonging to a woman named Belle Gunness, and it was devoured by flames that night in 1908 in LaPorte, Indiana. And the burnt bodies of Belle Gunness and 3 of her foster children, sadly, their names were Myrtle, Lucy, and Philip, were all found among the ruins. The press initially painted Belle Gunness as a heroine, dying in the fire that consumed her house in a desperate attempt to save her children. This was the initial narrative that was printed in the papers following this horrific fire.
Well, I don't understand what changed, because I think you said another serial killer, less known, perhaps even more deadly and insidious. That's what I'm here for.
Shall I go on?
I hope you do.
So there was a man named Ray Lamphere. Lamphere. I really don't know how to say that, Jill, but I'm just going to go with Lamphere.
I'm saying Lamphere.
Okay, let's call him Ray.
Okay.
All right, Ray. So Ray was Belle's former farmhand and also her on-again, off-again lover.
They are bumping uglies.
He was arrested with arson.
So he was arrested with arson, and I'm assuming the arson that burnt a farmhouse belonging to Miss Gunness?
Yes, ma'am.
No,
So
he didn't.
Yes, he did. He was put on trial, and during his trial, Ray revealed shocking details about Belle's sinister activities in the said farmhouse and on the land surrounding the farmhouse.
Real men never tell. So what do we got here? What do we got?
Well, he claimed that Belle killed people and buried their remains on her property. Ray confessed that Gunness had enticed men to her farm with advertisements for male companionship, only to then murder them and rob them. I should have done that backwards. Don't you think I should have said rob them and murder them? I think we end with murder.
Well, no. Because it's easier to rob them if they're murdered.
Oh, okay, good point.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Okay. No?
Well, this is my question. Was he telling the truth? How do we know that he wasn't the one killing people?
What an excellent question.
Thanks.
Well, these revelations, of course, sparked an investigation of the farm, where authorities unearthed numerous bodies and human remains, sparking a media frenzy.
Okay, Ray, that checked out. But how do we know? How do we know that it was her and not you?
Well, let's start by talking about who was Belle Gunness, shall we?
Yes, but I also want to say that already what you described, like advertising to come to her farm for companionship, it's kind of the same thing H.H. was doing. He was advertising that he had rooms to rent if you were attending the fair.
Right.
So I already see that correlation.
There are parallels that you will continue to see as we talk about Belle Gunness. I'm so excited. Okay. Good for you.
Stop it. I'm a pragmatic thinker that applies knowledge.
You're a pragmatic thinker. All right.
Didn't I say that?
No. All right. Continuing on. Belle Gunness was born Brynhild Paulsdottir Storseth.
Again, that's a name changer. That's a name changer. You don't lead with that. No, sirree, Bob.
She was born in Norway in 1859 and later immigrated to the United States.
Welcome.
Once in the States, Brynhild, a.k.a. Belle, changed her name to Belle Peterson.
I agree with that change. Even like Brynhild isn't that bad. Like it's not a Brynhild thing. It's the whole series of Brynhild, Paulsdottir, Sorthith. You know what I mean? It's the whole thing.
Yeah, that wasn't close, but we'll just keep going.
Okay.
So Belle Peterson worked as a servant girl for a period of time and also at a butcher shop cutting up animal carcasses.
Now, that is not for the faint at heart.
No, it is not.
Nope.
She also had a strong physical appearance, and she was quite tall for the time for a woman. She was 5 feet 7 inches and weighed between 209 and 249 pounds.
That a girl. She's snuggly. She juicy. I'd snuggle her. Yes, I would.
In 1884, she met and married Mads Sorensen, who was also from Norway.
I like the name Mads.
Yeah, that's a good one. Belle and Mads cared for foster children since they couldn't have children of their own.
That's nice, though. They're good foster parents. They're giving children a chance.
Well, let's see what happens, shall we? I wouldn't jump to any conclusions.
That's not a good sign when you're like, well, hold on with your happiness.
2 of these foster children, Caroline and Alex, passed away while under the care of the Sorensens.
Okay, that's not good. But it is like the 1800s, so, I mean, it could have been anything.
Well, Caroline died in 1896 and Alex in 1898, and both of their deaths were attributed to a condition called colitis.
Okay, I never heard of it. Tell me what colitis is. It sounds like arthritis.
Well, it has the same ending, but it's really not the same.
But they rhyme.
They do. Okay, so colitis, we know today, is an inflammation of the lining of the colon, and it can lead to infection and bowel disease.
That's like the worst type of disease to die of.
Symptoms.
Anything bowel related.
Yeah, anything bowel related is not fun.
Especially in the 1800s, bowel related in the 1800s, you know shit got dirty up in that farm.
Right.
You know it was smelling like a farmyard.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not romantic like consumption. You know what I mean?
Consumption's gross too because
It's
they're coughing
gross,
up blood.
But they're beautiful. You're beautiful if you die of consumption. Like that was like the whole thing because you get pale, you get thin, you're kind of raspy, and you have blood on your mouth, so your lips look really bright. It's like this whole thing.
It's like you are talking to me like a modern day Anne Shirley, and I have to disagree. Okay. I think I would rather be coughing up blood than shitting out blood.
True.
So
right, exactly.
As a person,
You agree. I hear
but not
you
because it's romantic. Not because it's like, oh.
I think it's romantic.
Okay.
All the great novels about dying women, they all have tuberculosis, aka consumption. So
true.
Let's just keep going.
Well, there's a lot of fainting going on in those movies too.
I think the corsets have something to do with it, but certainly lung disease will also make you faint.
I will tell you this. All my years of wearing Spanx and undergarments that were really full that I had to jump to get into, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
If you ain't jumping, it ain't tight enough. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I've never passed out from that. There have been times that I was afraid that I might, but I never did.
Okay.
I guess there's still time, but you know what I mean? Those women in the 1800s were hardcore. If they were lacing themselves up and then passing out.
Well, you know what? I can't believe I'm going to say this, but the type of undergarments that you and I have worn are more tight around the hips, button thighs. That's our jam. Not around the rib cage and
oh no,
waist,
not around the rib.
Right?
Okay.
Right. Okay.
The waist I should be more.
You should. Yes,
I should be,
we
but
should
I never.
Both be, but
no, but I never did
right.
that.
So that's the difference. If you start squeezing your, your chest. That's not where I was going. If you squeeze your lungs and your chest cavity, you're going to have a hard time catching your breath. Anyway, we are way off here. Okay, Caroline and Alex both died of colitis, abdominal pain, cramping, diarrhea, rectal pain, rectal bleeding, like you said. Also fatigue and weight loss. But all we know is...
fatigue and weight loss. That could be romantic.
All we know is that the medical examiner would have written that down as basically gastrointestinal issues. We don't really know what their symptoms were, but it's really sad.
It is really sad. And a lot of these symptoms like cramping, diarrhea, rectal pain, rectal bleeding, bowel movements, that can all be poison. I had food poisoning before and all the above.
You know what, Jill?
All the above.
You are not the first person to make that connection. However, Gunness received substantial insurance payouts for both children.
Oh my God. Who does that sound like, Jennifer? Who does that sound like?
She had insured them prior to their deaths.
Bitches.
Anyway.
Did anyone else in her life have life insurance? Because I would be worried if she was just guess what? The kids died. We got all this money. And then you're okay, I don't have a life insurance, do I? And if she was oh, you do. You do. Then I would be moving out.
Yeah, he did. Mads had a life insurance policy. And
Mads, you in trouble.
Now, Belle was all, Mads, your life insurance policy is not big enough. Look at how people just be dying around here. So she was you need to purchase another life insurance policy on top of the other one.
Absolutely not. Bitch, no, you wrong. She just got the life insurance out of 2 kids and now she's you need a hefty double down on that life insurance. I would be no. And I'm wondering, did she have life insurance out on herself?
I don't know.
Because that would be also suspicious if she's all worried about an accident but doesn't insure herself.
I think it's fishy too, but Belle she must have been very persuasive because Mads did it. He finally got another life insurance policy. And here is the funniest thing about it.
You keep saying funny, but I'm lacking in the humor.
Well, not ha-ha funny, but peculiar funny.
Okay, that makes sense. Peculiar.
The 2 life insurance policies, the old one that was smaller and the large one that was new, overlapped on one day. One
No,
day.
she didn't.
One day where they were both in effect. And guess what? Mads died on that day, the one day when both policies were both in effect. I'm not even kidding.
Okay, Belle, girl, you wrong. You know you're wrong. What are you doing? Oh my God, poor Mads. Do you think that she just harassed him enough? Like you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to literally. I would
do.
be like,
I do. And I also think that the fact that they overlapped by one day meant that she got it done in the nick of time.
Well, a next question is, how did he die? Was he...
Oh, great question. So they investigated this. Belle was questioned. Belle was questioned about what happened. And she reported that Mads had come home with a headache. And Belle gave him some quinine powder to ease the pain. Later, she checked on him and found him dead. And his cause of death was a cerebral hemorrhage.
How would she know that? She wouldn't know that. Like, that's pretty fishy.
Well, the cause of death was found to be a cerebral hemorrhage. She was just like, I don't know what happened. He had a headache. I gave him some medicine, and I found him dead.
So, Belle
Yes.
used the insurance money from her husband's death to purchase what?
A pig farm. A pig
it
farm
smells.
in LaPorte, Indiana, where she moved in November 1901 with 3 foster children.
She wasn't living there when all that shit happened?
No, she was not.
So then she moves to the farm,
Yes.
where they found a lot other bodies.
Jenny, Myrtle, and Lucy were the 3 foster children. So she moved her 3 living foster children to a pig farm in LaPorte, Indiana in November 1901. Now, Jill,
Jennifer.
she needs a man. She
Who
can't
doesn't?
be. She
Actually,
can't.
I mean, I'm not even going to lie. I'm good. I'm good. I ain't trying to catch nothing. I'm fine.
She was looking for a man to help her out on this pig farm. Pig farming has to be physically taxing. That's a lot of work.
They're kind of scary.
They are scary and dangerous.
Okay.
So, after settling in LaPorte, Belle married a widower named Peter Gunness in April of 1902. His wife...
That's not a long time.
No. His wife had just recently passed away, leaving him with 2 young daughters.
So now she has 5 kids.
Yes. 1 week after Belle and Peter's marriage, Peter's youngest daughter died under mysterious circumstances while Peter wasn't home.
That's fucked up.
Now, Peter, her husband, died 8 months later from a skull injury.
Any red flags yet? Are you serious?
Investigators did question Belle, and she informed them that Peter had been accidentally struck in the back of the head by a sausage grinder.
Jesus. Are you kidding me?
I hate it when that happens.
Oh my God.
I hate it when someone is flinging around a sausage grinder.
And you know how many
gets you in the
sausage
head.
grinders that you have in your house? And you know how many times I think of myself as I'm walking around like, whoosh, dodge that one. Dodge that one.
Has this ever happened to you?
Oh my gosh. I think I can picture what a sausage grinder looks like, but I'm not really sure.
You
and
know
why?
what? You know what? Our grandmother had one. I think I still have it in my garage. It is
That checks out.
It is
That
a
really
heavy.
checks out.
It is a heavy cylinder with a crank on one end.
Yes, it looks like a
clamp.
bicycle.
Yes, and a clamp that clamps onto the table. So it clamps onto the table and you turn it, and it's heavy. It is heavy.
So how can you accidentally get hit in the head with it? Like, because, I mean, no, I'm serious. Because it's not like something you swing. It's
No.
not like a hammer or an axe.
Right. Well, Belle had a story.
Oh, tell me her story.
She explained that Peter was reaching for something on a high shelf and the sausage grinder fell on him, smashing his skull. Which, PSA, never keep your sausage grinders on the top shelf. So many words of wisdom in this one.
I mean,
Keep them on the low shelf.
gosh, I feel so bad, but this is horrible. But the police really, again, guys.
Belle reportedly collected $3,000 of insurance money on Peter's death.
That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
I'd take that money today.
That would be really helpful today. And back then, that was a small fortune. Anyway,
and this is her what? Her fourth policy plus the maybe fifth if the other daughter had one.
Yeah.
Damn, Belle, girl, stop it.
Shortly after Peter passed away, Belle started placing advertisements in several Midwestern Norwegian language newspapers.
It's a romantic language.
These ads sought a dependable man to run her farm. Now, while the exact number of respondents remains unknown, a significant number of men were enticed by the offer and traveled to LaPorte, Indiana to meet Belle and to see her farm. Yeah, so it's kind of like, gosh.
It's kind of like Craigslist.
Yeah.
Like
Good
looking
analogy.
for a roommate,
Yeah.
you know, and they're like, okay, let me trot on down there. And these people were coming from far away. You have here a Wisconsin farmhand came.
Yeah.
That's a long horse carriage ride or a horse ride.
Well, she was looking like in the greater Midwest area. So settlements in the Midwest. So in 1905, Gunness began placing marriage advertisements in the newspapers.
Girl.
So now we're going from Craigslist to
eHarmony.
There you go. A Wisconsin farmhand.
Or the want ads. Want a husband? Christian singles? Farmers only?
Farmers only.
That's a funny one. That's the one she was on, Farmers Only.
She invented Farmers Only.
She was the first farmer only. Okay.
A Wisconsin farmhand named Henry Gerholtz responded to one of these ads, and he traveled to LaPorte. Do you think she sent him her picture?
If she did send a picture, do you think she sent a current picture?
No, absolutely not.
Or like a Facebook profile picture from 19, whatever.
Like
no,
1890. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Like she straight up had a glamour tin shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. So he wrote to his family expressing his approval of the farm and his good health and asked them to send him seed potatoes. So he went to the farm. He was like, he met Belle and he's like, all right, she ain't bad. He looked at the farm and everything. And he wrote his family saying, send me potato seeds. This is a good deal. I think I'm going to stay. Well,
so this is like the first Love is Blind too. Like Bella's a first.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was like, marry me. And then he hadn't seen her yet. So he trotted on down there and he was like, yes, I do. I say yes. Bring me my potato seeds.
Exactly. She was a pioneer in so many ways.
So many ways.
Well, suddenly his family in Wisconsin stops hearing from him. And they contacted Gunness. They're like, yeah, we know that he was on your farm. And
have you heard from Henry lately?
Right.
Because I sent him a bunch of potato seeds.
And she informed them that Henry had left for Chicago with horse traders. But, funny thing, Gunness still had his trunk and his overcoat and his belongings. Interesting.
Horse traders, huh?
I guess.
I
don't know.
It's a weird lie.
To run off with horse traders? Yeah.
Yeah. Like the goddamn horse traders again. You know what I mean?
Yes.
She should have said he went out for tobacco and he just never came home.
Then in 1906, a man named John Moe of Minnesota responded to a newspaper advertisement that Belle placed.
That's far.
Yes.
How is she getting these ads in these papers so far away?
I have no idea.
It's such a great question. It's not like she's like uploading some shit. You know what I mean? Like, is she writing letters? And how does she know?
She must be.
Like, is there an index of like newspapers? Like, how does she know that in nowhere Minnesota, there's a newspaper that she can write to even. Like, how does she get that address?
She must have been mighty resourceful.
Mighty resourceful. Yes, indeed, Jennifer.
So John Moe of Minnesota responds to one of her ads. After several months of correspondence,
several months in the pods,
Moe traveled to LaPorte, Indiana, and withdrew a large sum of money from the bank.
Nuh-uh.
He was never seen or heard from again. But a carpenter who occasionally worked on Belle Gunness's farm did note that Moe's trunk, along with more than a dozen others, were all in her home.
Belle.
More than a dozen trunks.
You are so wrong. What are you doing? First of all, are they like tokens? Why aren't you burying the trunks or burning the trunks? What are you doing?
That's a really good question.
Like, his overcoat and his trunk should be gone too. Like, girl, I was really impressed with you, but if you're not burying the trunks or getting rid of them, like, what are you doing? At least sell them. You're putting ads in the fucking paper. Sell them. Marketplace that shit. Anyway. Another man.
Andrew.
Another man.
Oh, geez. Here's another name that I'm not sure
Can I
of.
try it?
Absolutely
Can I try
not.
it?
Okay, go ahead.
No, because I'll tell you, I'll never get it right. And it's not because I'm not trying. It's hell, gel, in.
I mean, I couldn't do any better. Helgeline.
He's a Norwegian.
He's Norwegian. It's a Norwegian name. We're going to call him Andrew because we're not sure what his last name is. So Andrew Helgeline, a Norwegian farmer from Aberdeen, South Dakota.
She just keeps getting farther and farther out.
Contacted her. And it seems like, Jill, Andrew and Belle formed a relationship that would last for several years.
I wonder what his magic sauce was.
One wonders. Belle employed several hired hands in the meanwhile to help around on her farm over the years. And Ray, remember Ray from the beginning? Ray the arson? Okay. Ray,
I thought that he was putting all this on her, and then it turns out like, no, she done did it.
Exactly. Ray, hired in August 1907, actually fell in love with Belle, and he hoped to marry her and become a true partner on the farm.
I have to tell you, I kind of love that this little chubby woman is getting all this heat. You know what I mean? Like, she's getting plenty.
She's getting plenty of
Plenty of men are like in on that. You know what I'm saying?
That is true. She had something.
She must have body language. I tell you what, them curves.
Then in January of 1908, Andrew Helgeline, visited Belle in LaPorte for 2 weeks, and Ray got super jealous.
Cockfight.
During his visit, Andrew had money sent from his bank in Aberdeen, South Dakota, to the First National Bank in LaPorte, Indiana. And then he and Belle went together to the bank in LaPorte. And Belle was like, we have to take all the money out in cash. And Andrew's like, but we don't. And the bank teller's like, yeah, no, you really don't. It's smarter to keep some here. But Belle insisted and would not take no for an answer. And so all the money was taken out in cash. Andrew left the next day and did not return to South Dakota, causing his brother, Asel, to become concerned.
Andrew.
Seems like Andrew made a mistake.
A couple
mistakes, yeah. Have all of his money. These kind of scams still happen today.
No, I know. But they're usually from like an Asian prince or an African prince. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, he just needs your money.
Not
to get
a
his
widow.
Money.
Not a widow in South Dakota. So,
but like, was she like? I just don't understand. Like, I can't get my husband to do anything. Like, I don't understand. Like, what was
her magic?
Yeah, like what was the tactic? What did you do, Belle? Speak to me.
So Andrew disappears. After he transfers all of his money to this bank in LaPorte, he disappears. His family doesn't hear from him, but his brother Aisel became concerned. And Aisel starts writing these mad letters to Belle. And he's writing letters to the bank, and he's writing letters to Belle, and he's like, where is my brother? I know.
See, this is the first Twitter.
Exactly.
Bitches be like.
The bank confirmed that Andrew was there, but Belle simply stated, oh, he just left. He just left town.
Where's his trunk? Where's his trunk, Belle? Where's his trunk?
I think you know the answer to that question, Jill. Don't insult her. Then in February 1908, Belle fired Ray.
No.
Yes, for like some shitty reason. She's like, you were trespassing on my farm. You know that she was trying to break up with him, right?
See, that's a power dynamic.
Yeah.
And she should have never been making hay with the guy that's supposed to be pulling the hay. You know what I'm saying?
So Belle fires Ray from his position and subsequently hires a guy named Joe Maxson. Meanwhile, Aisel, Andrew's brother, he keeps firing these letters off. He is persistent with these letters to Belle, seeking information about Andrew, his brother, also really saying, I'm coming there. I am going to confront you. I'm on my way. So you better get your shit in order and find my brother and produce him because, like, I'm getting in my coach right now.
Yeah, but it's all like South Dakota. So, like, she has time. It's not like 911. It's like, I'll get there eventually when the snow falls or thaws. You know what I mean? It's true. She has time.
April 28th, 1908. To your point, this is a few months after Aisel said he was on his way.
Well, okay, so Aisel said he's on his way. And then this is the weird thing that you didn't say. She consults her attorney to prepare her will. Like, that's a weird thing to do.
That is
like,
a weird thing to do.
why are you doing that? Okay, Aisel's coming.
Aisel's coming. She knows Aisel's coming.
He's going to get there.
He's going to get there. And she sees her attorney to prepare her will. That's true.
Okay, so now early hours of April 28th.
Like, it's still dark out, early hours. April 28th, 1908, at approximately 4 a.m., Joe Maxson, the new hired hand, the new Ray, he is woken up by the smell of smoke, and he discovers that the entire house is ablaze. But hero that he is, he runs in and he tries to wake up Belle and the family, but was unsuccessful. Then Max immediately rushes to LaPorte, to the city itself, to summon the fire department in town. Later that afternoon, it's a smoking ruin of a mess. And amidst the ruins of the basement, the bodies of the family were recovered. The bodies of the 3 children were found. Beside the body of a woman. Unfortunately, the woman's body was missing its head.
You guys, I don't think that the fire caused that. I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
Isn't that something?
I know what it is.
Okay, all right, don't tell us yet. So this is when Aisel arrives. So
fucking Aisel, you did not ride fast enough, Aisel.
He didn't. So
where
now,
have you been?
Now Aisel finally arrives from South Dakota, and he's on the site of the burnt LaPorte farmhouse, searching for some clue of his missing brother Andrew.
That is so sad. Would you do that for me? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. You'd be like, she gone.
I don't know. Yes, I probably would try to find some clue if I didn't know what happened to you. Anyway, Aisel and Joe Maxson found no evidence of Andrew's remains in the ruins of the house. So they started digging in an area on the property where Belle and Joe had previously disposed of garbage. Uh-huh. And there, they discovered Andrew's body.
No.
In a gunny sack.
What's a gunny sack?
It's a big sack, buried with trash.
Oh, my God. I'm so sorry, Andrew.
After this grim discovery, law enforcement took over. Sheriff Smutzer and his team continued digging on the property and uncovered at least 13 bodies on Belle's farm. Most were so badly butchered that it was impossible for investigators to identify them. I was reading about this.
So there were 5 before she got there. Now there's 13. That's 18 total. I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that, and if you're a sensitive listener, maybe fast forward for a second, because
Jesus, what are you going to say?
Her victims were butchered like into pieces.
Because that's how she did at the butcher.
Exactly. That was her experience.
Holy shit.
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. And a lot of them are nameless. These are nameless people.
Yep. Nameless people who answered her ads in the paper.
Oh my God.
And children. Let's not forget the foster children that she would foster.
I feel so bad.
Take out insurance policies on. Anyway.
That doesn't even make sense to me. Like, I would, if a poor foster kid, I would be like, no, I'm good on the streets. Thanks.
Now, the first person to be arrested and questioned was Ray, because everybody knew that Ray and Belle had had a recent conflict and she had fired him. Yes, and that they were lovers. He was arrested and he was tried for arson and murder. Ray was actually found guilty of the arson, but not the murder. Of course, there's a story behind this.
I think it has something to do with that, a head missing?
Exactly. Well, first of all, Ray claimed in his testimony that Belle herself told him to set the farmhouse on fire with the children inside. He also said that the body that people assumed was Belle's was actually a murder victim of hers that was deliberately placed there to deceive investigators.
Okay. Why? I think I already know the answer, but I'm just going to ask you. Why did she do this? I think my real why, I know why she did this.
Why did she do this?
I'm just saying why Ray did this.
Oh.
She manipulated you. She cut you out of her life. She fired you. And then she's going to knock on your door and be like, can you burn the house for me? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why would you do that, Ray? Why did she do it? Because I know why. I can Jill-splain it.
Jill-splain it real fast.
I know. Real fast?
Yeah. Well, no, not real fast, but just Jill-splain.
So she knew Ansel's coming, right?
Yes.
She had some time, so we all know she had some time.
Right.
So she got with her lawyer. She made a will. And then she staged this arson and staged her own death so she can probably collect her own insurance money down the line somewhere else.
That would be consistent.
Without all the baggage.
Mm-hmm. I like it. So Asel, of course, Belle knew that he was coming, like you said, and Ray claimed that it was his impeding visit that motivated Belle to destroy her house, fake her own death, and escape.
Yeah, because he's not going to let Andrew go.
Right. He was persistent, and she knew he wouldn't stop. Mm-hmm. So the thing is about Ray, he is not a liar, and his testimony seemed to check out with the physical evidence. Now, check this. The headless woman's body that was found in the ruins, significantly smaller than Belle, and missing her signature features, like her height and her robust build. I thought you were going to
say her head. I was like, yeah, we know, Jen.
Yeah. That would be a signature feature. This is significant. Her body was 5 inches shorter and 50 pounds lighter, but still, the doctor completing the postmortem pronounced Belle Gunness dead.
That's weird.
That is weird, right?
That is very weird. Why would he do that?
I don't know. That's a mystery.
The power this woman has over men, I will never get.
For sure. Well, here's the thing, though, Jill.
Tell us.
After her quote-unquote death, people continued reporting sightings of Belle, specifically in the Chicago area, long after her death had been announced in La Porte, Indiana. So, Jill, there are so many parallels.
Too many.
Between H.H. Holmes and Belle's story. And like both.
Belle, oh,
go ahead.
First of all, can I say something?
Please.
I love that Belle did it better, but I'm also like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love that Belle did it better, but the fact that H.H. Holmes is more known than Belle is insane to me because she did it better.
True. Both highly manipulative, both strategic with their methods, right? They didn't want just anybody. They wanted like in
someone
H.H.
with
Holmes.
money.
Well, in H.H. Holmes's situation, he was looking for young women on their own who would come agree to like work with him and
or stay with him during the fair.
Right? Exactly. Yes, stay with him as well. And Belle, of course, we know about all of her advertisements. Financial motives, huge for both of them. Both Holmes and Gunness profited from life insurance payouts on their victims. And both of them left behind mysteries that endure to this day.
Yes, sir.
Holmes's true victim count remains uncertain today, as well as Gunness's supposed death in the firehouse still sparks debate over whether she evaded capture altogether.
I am sure she did.
Now, there's the most, what I would call the most staggering similarity has yet to been discussed.
Will you discuss it with me now?
Why, I shall. Belle also lived in Chicago. In 1881, Jill, at the age of 21, when Belle had just left Norway, she first settled in Chicago to live with her sister Nellie, who had immigrated there several years earlier.
Oh, my God. I want to know what happened to Nellie. We have to find out what happened to Nellie.
In fact, Belle and her first husband, Mads, they lived in Chicago, and their first Chicago home burned down.
Stop it right now.
Not even kidding. And Belle and Mads, her first husband, used the fire insurance money from their burned down Chicago home to buy a candy store that was located on Grand Avenue and Elizabeth Streets in Chicago.
Oh my God. That's where we were driving.
And not only that, Jill, the couple then used the fire insurance payout from the candy store that burned down to purchase a new home in Austin, Illinois. Austin, which is now a neighborhood of Chicago, like on Austin Avenue. Like that.
That's crazy talk.
Which we were totally picking up on.
We were driving through.
Through this neighborhood. Yes.
That we did not know.
That we did not even know that Belle freaking lived there.
That's insane.
Totally insane.
Remember our hits?
Of course. Austin Avenue, murderer. We totally nailed it. But here's my question for you.
Holmes.
Oh, and H.H. Holmes, who led us to her, quite frankly. But Jill, what do you think that she came back to Chicago and somehow continued her nefarious activities?
Either she impersonated Nellie to get her own life insurance, or she killed Nellie after Nellie cashed it for her.
You think Nellie was involved? We have to find out what happened to Nellie. All right, write that down. We have to find
out. I already did.
I love that. Thank you. My goodness. And other questions like, do you think that she was in on it with Ray? Because that would be motivation if, like, you know, AKA H.H. Holmes was like, hey, let's pretend you die and I get your insurance money and we split it. And then, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Since there's so many parallels, here would be another one. She could have said, hey, Ray, you help me impersonate my death. I just have this will. Collect my insurance. I'll make you the beneficiary and we'll split it. That would explain why he would go through all that trouble.
I That would explain why he would go through all that trouble.
And then I also call into question the doctor who pronounced her dead when the body looked nothing like her.
I want to know who came first. H.H. Holmes. So H.H. Holmes died in 1896.
Yes. She's a little later.
She's a little later.
She's about 10 years later.
But the reason why I bring it up is that she was probably inspired by him.
Ooh.
Because like we said, everyone in the area knew about H.H. Holmes.
I'm not sure if he was in front of her, if his stuff came out before she started her butchery, to be quite honest. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So who do you think the voiceless are?
There are 13 of them
Yeah.
that are unknown, plus the woman, like, oh my God.
Her husbands, her hired men, her lovers, and all the poor foster children.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really, honestly, it is really crazy that not a lot of people know about this situation.
Yeah, well, now they do. Yeah, so there you have it. Would you like to do a little closing? Say goodbye to our folks?
Sure, but I also want to know if the farm's still there. If it's 68 miles from Chicago, I bet you and I can drive there.
Love it.
Meet there.
Okay.
I mean,
Done.
do you love it? Because it's kind of creepy.
No, love the idea of going to try to find the location. And that's your superpower. Like if I say, Jill, find it, you're going to find it. And we're totally going there. Love everything about it.
My closing.
Yes, please.
I just want to give people community announcements first.
Okay.
And one of those community announcements is the fact that you, Jennifer James, my co-host and sister of the Common Mystics podcast, are hosting a group class that lasts for 8 weeks for only $200 per participant.
That's true.
My God. Tell me about it.
What a deal. No, it's going to be so fun. I'm really excited about it. We're going to practice our psychic abilities and do a lot of hands-on activities. We're going to do a lot of partner work, which is why it's a partner class. So it starts April 24th. If you've got any questions, if you think, well, maybe, and you're not sure, just reach out. We'd be happy to talk with you, to give you more information via email. So yeah, April 24th, it's 8 weeks long, an hour-and-a-half sessions on Zoom, and really looking forward to it. Thank you, Jill.
That's a long time. Yes. Please email us at commonmystics@gmail.com, and Jennifer James herself will answer all your burning questions. Also, I want to say we love our patrons. We are incredibly grateful for all of you who have subscribed to us on Patreon at whatever figure made sense for you. Thank you guys so much. And please, if you haven't yet, considered sponsoring us on Patreon, because that's literally keeping this show going. And we need the help. So please do it if you can. And we know things are tight right now. So, what are you going to do?
Exactly. But thank you so much. I cannot express enough gratitude for our patrons who literally, like Jill just said, literally keep Common Mystics going. We love you. We appreciate you. And thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
So, want more mystics? Check out our website.